Hello chess friends and welcome to VChess. My name is Naiditsch, I'm a chess grandmaster and we continue with the candidates round 3. Yesterday we saw 4 draws fighting, but not as exciting as in the first round. So, round number 3. Let's start first with a game of Bluebaum versus Yesipenko. The German grandmaster is having more or less an equal endgame, so most probably we will see another draw. Bluebaum, he made quite a fast draw in the first round with white pieces against VE. Yesterday he survived his game against Sindarov quite safely. Actually, I think Sindarov could have pushed a little bit more, but a draw against Sindarov is a good result. And today we see now an endgame against Yesipenko, so most probably this is going to be a draw as well. Later we will go into the details how we got here, but first let's take just a short look on the most of the positions. So we have 4 games, let's have some overlook first, and yeah, then we see. Good evening to everyone in the chat. I hope you're having a great day, great morning, great evening. It is evening for me in the Emirates. So the current endgame, I don't think it needs a lot of comments. I think it is just a draw. If someone could try to play for a win, it is black here, because black has a better king on e7 versus the king on g1. King on g1 still far away. Well, not that far away, but let's say 2 moves far away. That gives black some slight advantage, but I don't think that black is capable of making something out of it, because symmetrical pawn structure, everything is pretty equal, so I guess it's just gonna be a draw. Let's go to the second game. We have Praggnanandhaa, who had beautiful game against Giri, won the round number 1. Yesterday Praggnanandhaa was a draw with the black pieces against VE, also high level game. Today white against Sindarov, so the 2 leaders are facing each other. Sorry. What do we have on the board? Craziness. We have absolute craziness on the chessboard, but it's like a piece down for black. We have the white king, d1, not the best position ever, but a piece up. The black pieces are not very active. I would think that white is doing here much better. So, I don't know. From the first look, it looks like a much better position for white. Maybe it might be something else, but I cannot imagine black doing well here. Piece down. Yes, of course, black has a couple of pawns for it. At the moment, 3 pawns, but it's white to play. Usually 3 pawns is not enough in case we have many pieces on the chessboard. So by the first look, I would say white is doing much better. White has simple options here, I think, to take. Is never wrong, but personally I think white maybe is capable to do something more dynamic than just to capture a pawn. It feels good, some moves that are connected to the idea of attacking the pawn on the queen on g6. So maybe something like king e2 even is making sense. King is now safe on e2. We want to get eventually in the future some moves like knight on g5, knight on d6 somewhere. To take the pawn on g2 is basically suicidal, so this is not very dangerous. Bishop on b4, good or bad piece? I would think that rather bad than good. So I evaluate the position as much better for Praggnanandhaa, so I think in case Praggnanandhaa wins today, that would be an amazing start. 2 wins, 1 draw, especially the win today against Sindarov, who also had a good start. It would be a perfect start of the candidates, I would say. With a win today, Praggnanandhaa would be establishing himself as one of the favorites to win the candidates. So, what do you think? What do you think in the chat? Is it already a much better position for white, or Do you believe that Sindarov will manage to survive the current game? To me, it looks much better for white. But I might be wrong, so I'm not checking with an engine here on the chess. We are not doing engine. We try to think by ourselves, so we learn from the top guys. Just to check engine evaluation doesn't make you a better chess player, so it makes, to me, not much sense. Let me put my glasses. So I improve with the glasses. Now I see the things better. All right, let's see what is going to happen in the future. And of course, we're going to check the first moves. But let us take a brief look on the next game. We have Caruana against VE. Tough game and unbelievable position. Who is doing better here? This looks just insane. We have a couple of pawns more for white. We have this horrible bishop on h3. Very important not to lose the bishop. On the other hand, all the white pieces still on the starting position. There is king on e1 not doing much the time. 43 minutes for Caruana and 57 for VE. So it means probably VE played something that Caruana been not expecting. To evaluate this position is so difficult. It is black to play. I don't know who is doing better here. It's a crazy position, so I think we're gonna see a crazy game. It's a very difficult also position to be played, so we might see also a crazy time trouble. So complex. With white, we want to get d3 and finally the bishop out, or to play rook to g3, take the bishop on h3. This is obvious. The idea for black should be something instant, so we have to push. How can we push in this position? We can try to move somewhere the rook, so we have this knight c5 attacking the queen. We might be able to play knight e5 now immediately. So for example, knight on e5, we want to take on g4 in case we're a little bit lucky. In case white takes on e5, we might be able to take with the bishop, so we protect against the move rook on g3, we attack somewhere the pawn on h2. Quite unclear, very difficult to judge if white is in time to defend everything or black will be capable to push. What else can we do here with the black pieces? I think we should have a couple of options here. It doesn't seem like that knight e5 been played, so we've been correct with our assumption. Knight e5 been played. Welcome to everyone in the chat. Let me read for a second. Knight f6 hangs his queen. Maybe you meant it to the earlier position. All right. Lose a knight but hangs to the queen. No. This round it seems there is a rule not to castle. Yeah, for the moment we have a couple of games. Very sharp round. So yesterday we had the calm games and today we have crazy games. All right, that's more funny to watch. So we cannot complain. The game number 4, we have Nakamura, who had a bad start, lost first game to Caruana. Second game, he had a worse position against Yesipenko for a very long time. Managed to survive today against Giri. Giri is similar. He lost the game 1. In the second game against Caruana with white pieces, he tried to put some pressure, did not manage, so it was quite a fast draw. What do we have currently on the chessboard? We have interesting position because at some moment white is going to take the bishop on b6, black is going to take back, and then we have two knights fighting the two bishops, but we have here a monster knight on d4. So in my opinion, this kind of positions are approximately equal. In case you have two bishops, you want to break free, so you need open position, and in case you have two knights, you're always aiming, sorry, this was a misclick, you're always aiming to have some kind of stable square, so protected square, and this is what black has currently with a knight on d4. That's why I would say the position is approximately equal. It would be great for black to do something with a knight on f6. In a long run, knight from f6 to get it to e6. This is a dream. Maybe to attack the pawn on d3 somehow, but it's difficult, so the only way to attack the pawn on d3 would be to go back with a knight. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. to play something like knight e6, because now we attack the pawn on d3 and we want to get bishop takes e3. So white is sort of forced, I think, to take on b6. We take it back. The pawn is still under attack. The next move might be c5. So yes, knight e6 is a possible continuation. There's not a bad move to play with black, but I believe here not only knight e6 as an option. I think here are pretty many options for black. Just a couple of safe moves, like for example, we can play the move c6, quite useful. We can play the move rook ac8, but this one I am not sure, because we have this bishop h3 option somewhere, so rook on c8 can be good, can be bad. Not 100% convinced. The question in the chat, is c5 good here? To play c5 feels dangerous because white can just take the pawn. And how do we recover the pawn? So c5 a bit too early. Welcome to everyone in the chat who is new to VChess. We do chess educational content. We have a beautiful application on the market. You can check it out. We have some books for PDF for download. So a lot of options here on VChess. And yeah, my name is Naiditsch. I'm a chess grandmaster and I'm commenting here on the candidates without an engine, so we get this human feeling. All your questions, please, in the chat. I would be happy to answer your chess questions, so don't be shy. Let's check now how the game of Yesipenko against Bluebaum from move 1, because we still have this endgame. Most probably it's going to be a draw, but let's see how the game got there. We have d4, d5, very solid opening. So Queen's Gambit, one of the most solid openings existing. Bishop e7, so we have the classical Queen's Gambit, take, bishop f4. Again, we have the move bishop f4, seems to be popular here on the candidates. Short castle, e3, c5, once again. So Bluebaum already had it in the game number 1 against VE. Let's see the change. The change is that instead of bishop on d3, also Sindarov had it. So we have d takes c5 and knight c6. I thought it is more or less an equal game, so let's see. Short castle, bishop e6, yes, all is theory. Rook c1, rook c8, both players are bringing the pieces to the center. The main idea for black is to push d4 in a good moment. So for example, a6, bishop a7 followed by d4, or to play queen e7, rook d8 followed by the move d4. Bishop on d3 quickly played by Bluebaum. It is also theory, so why bishop on d3? Because what else to play here? Bishop d3 supports the idea, knight e2 in theory. Otherwise, how do we stop black from playing the move d4? Yes, you might be able to play something like knight a4. Of course, it makes sense to play knight a4, not a bad move, of course, obviously. But also here, after we go away with the knight from c3, there is always this knight e4 coming later, so playable, yes. Better, I don't think so. So bishop on d3, h6. Both players are still in their book, so a6, very normal. Bishop on b1, queen e7, getting ready for the move rook to d8. And this is a moment when Yesipenko thought for almost 20 minutes, so he was probably considering, should I play bishop a7 or should I play queen to e7? After queen e7, rook e1, 20 minutes by Bluebaum. So Bluebaum is surprised by the move queen on e7. Maybe bishop a7 is the main, but these are so small nuances that I don't think they play a major role. Rook on e1, rook on d8, obviously d4, preparation. Rook e2, Bluebaum is trying to get this rook to d2 done. Still the move d4. Bluebaum just takes and plays rook on d2, but this is a play for a draw with white. Wow. Why Bluebaum is playing for a draw? This is weird, because with white you usually try to push a little bit, at least play the move knight on d4 or something. Still should be a draw, but why to rush so much to change like everything? Because it is just a symmetrical position, there is nothing to play with here. Bluebaum just tries to force draws with white. This strategy usually is not the best strategy ever in the candidates, because at some moment you will lose with the black pieces. When you are afraid and you try to make as many draws as you can with white, this strategy ends badly on a long run, in most of the cases, of course. So yes, Bluebaum is making this kind of draws, but with draw, when you're playing in candidates, the idea is not to make as many draws as you can. So I don't know, little bit strange strategy in my opinion. So now we have completely equal position. Beautiful move, King F8, very nice. So this is something that we should remember. Protecting the queen on E7, because the game most probably will be ending in an endgame. A3, well, normal move. Queens are being exchanged. Bishop on E6, knight on E4. Bluebaum continues changing all he can. Bishop A2, not very dangerous, because king is now on E7. There might be even rook to D2, or rook D6. It's so easy to play this position with black. White has 0 chances to be better. B6. I think it doesn't really matter what you do here. It's just a draw. I think black tries to push a little bit, but not so easy. So we have rook on C1, rook on D4. Black is playing for a win, but how to play for a win in the position like that? I think if Bluebaum is not gonna blunder something heavy, the game should just end in a draw quite soon. A couple of safe moves with white and it's gonna be a draw. So I see in the chat a comment, Bluebaum playing Nepo strategy in draws. I think I don't agree with you here. Nepomniachtchi is usually a very active player. Nepomniachtchi has crazy games. He's pushing extremely hard with the white pieces. So I would not consider Nepomniachtchi as someone who tries to be safe, especially with the white pieces. I never had this opinion of Nepomniachtchi. If you compare to, for example, Giri, I might agree with you, but even Giri is pushing with white, so he's not forcing draws with white. Bluebaum, maybe he feels not enough confident to beat these big guys, but I think once you reach the candidates, you have to prepare as well psychologically. So you must be ready to try to win a game against one of the top chess players in the world, because it's your chance. It's your chance. So yeah, little bit strange strategy by Bluebaum. To my experience, it usually ends up badly. You make draws with white, at some moment you're gonna lose with black, and then you feel so unpleasant. Then you try to over push with white because you believe, okay, now I have to come back, and it doesn't work psychologically. If you are not ready to fight, usually you will do badly in a fight. So I see a funny comment that blunder makes sense in a professional level. Under 2000 should be just a mistake. Of course, on every level there are different type of mistakes, but now we are checking games of the best of the world. So those people usually do not blunder often. Of course, it happens, but it happens quite rarely that there is a big mistake. We saw in the first round, by the way, a couple of big mistakes. For example, Yesipenko with bishop takes f3 was a huge mistake. Yeah, so blunders do happen, but not that often. So Praggnanandhaa Sindarov. Let's first check what do we have here. So the pawn been just taken. I propose the move king on e2. Maybe, I don't know, to take a pawn. Not a bad decision for sure, because why not to take in case you can? But I just saw that white might be trying to be active with a move king on e2, but okay, to take for sure a good decision. Now we have 2 pawns for black. Bishop on c5, trying to prevent the move c5, so the bishop is not going to be in a bad spot on b4, but I believe white is doing much better here. With white, we have solutions like playing the move e4 next. We have simple solution king on e2. I think that Praggnanandhaa is going to win the game. He's gonna make it. It doesn't feel like black has any kind of compensation, because 2 pawns are not enough. So, well, I think Praggnanandhaa is gonna make it today. It's gonna be a fantastic start for the Indian fans. 2.5 out of 3. Fantastic start for Praggnanandhaa. We have the move queen on c3 mate, so just covering the e5 square. A bit strange play, queen on c3, because in case of e5 I saw that white is gonna play the move e4, but or f5 is hanging. Praggnanandhaa is going for the move queen on c3, so probably knight e5 is next. To take on e3 is suicidal, so to take this pawn it looks very, very bad. Rook is getting into the game, for example, or knight on e5. Well, we have to calculate if e5 is actually possible. So e5, because in case we take, there is queen f6, so there is this pin here. Is there a way for white to do something with a pin? I don't see immediately. So e5, probably still the move e4 will be played, but then the question is why queen on c3? For sure there is something that I'm missing. Praggnanandhaa is so good in calculation. There is a trick that white is capable of doing, otherwise queen on c3 would make no sense. So what could be the trick after e5? Maybe knight h4, but there is queen g4 check, so... What is the idea for Praggnanandhaa? I see nothing else except playing the move e4, so f4 only. Now, where do we go with the knight from g3? Or maybe Praggnanandhaa just wants now to take, but there is still the move queen on f6, so... Yeah. I don't know. Looks a little strange, the move queen on c3. Not sure if it is the best. We will see. Praggnanandhaa has for sure something in mind, something very, very good, but I don't see it, so... Queen on c3, for me, at the moment, remains a bit strange, but, well, we will see. Let's go from move 1, how we got here. So we have another game on Queen's Gambit, another game on Queen's Gambit with the move bishop on e7, another game on bishop on f4, but in most cases there was cd, ed, now it is without, and e3. Still c5, so after cd, ed, we are back to the game of Bluebaum, or the game of Sindarov, actually was a white pieces. So white takes on c5 and a3, so now without cd, but it is more or less the same. Knight on c6, queen on c2, this is the idea for white, so in case we don't take, we try this long castle idea. Rook on e8, all is theory, bishop on g5, all is theory. Take, knight e4, queen f5, b4. Is it the move b4? Not sure, something is... No, but this position I saw it many times, so this cannot be wrong. And not sure guys, because something I don't remember. I think queen f6 was played. Yeah, this is correct. b4, but now knight on b4. I don't remember the sacrifices for black, so something is not the usual way. Not sure what. Maybe gf is the move to play for black in this position. There's been some game of Matsudlu, very beautiful game by the way. But something is not the usual way, because to sacrifice a piece, I thought it's not the best. And also we can see Sindarov's time, so he thought 20 minutes in the current position. 20 minutes is a lot, so he was not sure to take with a queen or to take with a pawn. And knight on e4, queen on f5, b4, piece down, but it looks just very bad for Sindarov. So something weird that happened in the opening. Maybe Sindarov played too early the move d4. Maybe it is not d4 in the current position, because it cannot be so bad, because here after b4 black is sort of obliged to sacrifice, otherwise pawn down, I think. So we have the sacrifice, now it looks just piece down for black. Very weird game. I think Sindarov missed something in the opening. So yeah, would be very bad luck for Sindarov, because to lose like that. Basically was out of fight. Very, very surprising. Let's go. VE resigned. Wow, he just resigned. So he played the move knight e5. This is what we've been expecting. Ah, he missed the move knight on d1. Whoa. VE misses this beautiful move knight on d1 because he thought he has some counterplays. There's queen on d3 somewhere. But knight on d1, queen gets the bishop on h3, so just piece down. Unbelievable. 19 moves victory by Caruana. Spectacular. So rarely we see games won just in 19 moves. Big blunder by VE. This is a heavy blunder. So rarely Chinese player is blundering something, and we have here huge blunder by VE. 1 hour on the clock. Probably in case of bishop takes e5, actually the same might happen with the move knight on d1, but now we have the move queen c7, I believe, because we're gonna take the bishop on c1, so at least it's a little bit of fight in the current position. But rook takes e5 is losing on the spot. He has missed the move knight on d1. Caruana played it instantly. Take a look at that. He saw it before knight takes e5, played instantly the move knight on d1, and it is game over. The bishop is falling. VE just resigns. Very, very disappointing game for the Chinese superstar. And yes, good evening to everyone in the chat. Caruana with a star, 2.5 out of 3. He won his game against Nakamura, against who has quite a bad score. So he beat his direct rival from the US. Now he wins a very easy game against VE. And in case you win so fast, it's not only that you win, you also don't spend a lot of energy, so you save energy. Fantastic for Caruana. As I'm telling every round, since round 1, Caruana is my favorite player in the candidates. I hope he's gonna win, he deserves it, and I think he deserves a second chance to become world champion. He played against Magnus Carlsen. This is so unlucky because I think it would be anybody else except Magnus. We would see Caruana being the world champion already for a long time, but he was always number 2 behind Magnus Carlsen. So unlucky to be in the same era of chess as Magnus Carlsen for Caruana. Now, fantastic start for Fabiano. What else can we say? Let's check the game from move 1. What do we have here? Caruana continues playing this knight f3 c4, so no d4. Now, VE with a move c5. We got a little bit bored of this e6, d5, so no more queen's gambit. Finally, something else. c5, g3, g6, and yes, we have a very, very common opening. Nothing new. This knight g5 line. Yes, it is very sharp line, but Caruana sought for 20 minutes here. Can you imagine? He was probably considering, should I play the line with a move short castle? Should I play the line with a move d4 after the short castle usually? 20 minutes of thinking. Knight on c6, knight on g5, knight on b6. All is theory. He takes on c6 and he takes the pawn on c6. Yeah, this is a very, very sharp line, extremely double-edged. Rook on c8. We see VE banging out the moves, so black knows exactly. Bishop on h3, also very fast played by VE. We have check and VE plays for a win. Is it possible that VE plays for a win? Because after bishop on d7, would Caruana not play the move queen to a5? Maybe queen on d3 now. This is possible, yeah. Maybe no draw. So, queen b5 check, knight on d7. VE sought here for 4 minutes, so he made it fast. Fast play by VE. Rook on g1, idea g4. What could be more obvious? We still have the short castle on the board, so I think VE could have gone back with a bishop. Very, very sharp position. 2 pawns for white, but the king is on e1. Plus the bishop pair. Black has definitely some counter chances here. So it's not like white is completely winning, in no way. This position is very, very dynamic. So short castle, g4, problem. There is rook to g3 coming now. VE is thinking half an hour sought for rook c5. White queen goes back, and here comes this blunder by VE. Another 20 minutes of thinking. So VE thought 30 minutes, 20 minutes, next move, and resigned. Wow. Really bad day for the Chinese player, because so rarely VE is missing easy tactics like knight on d1. So rare, yeah. Bad luck for VE, and such an important win for Caruana. To beat VE is a difficult task. VE is not losing a lot of games, and yeah, Caruana beat VE basically effortless, so he has spent maybe a little bit of energy, but that's it. Fantastic mood, 2.5 out of 3. Easy draw with Giri also yesterday, saving a lot of energy. It's going excellent for the American. I would say number 1, because Hikaru Nakamura is by ELO number 1, but for so long he was playing no classical chess tournaments except beating 2,300 players in an open, which is, I don't know how to call it best. So it's not very serious. That's why, in my opinion, Caruana is US number 1, and beautiful start. For the fans of Caruana, I'm one of them. We are very happy to see Fabiano with 2.5 out of 3. Welcome to everyone in the chat. I hope you're having a great day. We're checking here the games of the candidates, and we see already Caruana with an easy win against VE. Let's go to the next game. We have Nakamura against Giri, and let's see what happened here. We saw the current position as our last. Rook on c8 played by Giri. This is where I said I'm not sure it's a good move or it's a bad move because of the bishop h3 idea somewhere. h3 played by Hikaru. Now knight e6 idea. Yeah, this is what we've been considering. We saw that maybe knight e6 immediately, but why not that? Rook c8. Yeah, Giri plays good game. Take, pressure on the pawn on d3. We have 39 minutes for Nakamura, 35 for Giri, c5. Coming next, I believe the position should be approximately equal. Alright, by the way, in case you like our educational content, please like and subscribe. It would help us a lot to grow the channel, so appreciate that. Let's go with a move from move number 1, how we got here. c4, knight f6, knight c3, e5. So nice to see that we have something else than the usual e6, d5. By the way, we have a lot of first c4 and first knight f3. Surprising. Lately, e4 move became very popular, and usually we see the move d4, but now c4 and knight f3. Not the very main. So we have now the move e5, d3 by Hikaru Nakamura. Usually we see the move g3 as the main continuation for white. Currently as well, the move e3 is being played quite often. I think g3 move against Hikaru we played very long time ago. It was, I think, Chess Olympiad in Baku. And I was black and he was white. He played me the move g3. We had a crazy game which finally ended in a draw. Very interesting game. So this time the move d3, d5, take, and e4. So it is like reversed Sveshnikov. So it's like you're playing black, but let me show you the position very quickly. It is similar to this, but just imagine you're having a tempo up. So we have this position, knight f6, d4, take, d6. Let's say black would play some random move. It would be white as black, yes. So now e5. So this is what we have, just reversed. So let's go back to the game. Now this move e4, knight goes to f6. Also, Giri is so well prepared. Knight f6, not knight on b6, which is interesting. So knight on f6, bishop on e2, bishop on g4. He goes straight for the knight on f3 to get the knight on d4. Bishop on e3, both players blitzing out their moves. After bishop on e3, Giri is thinking a little bit. 8 minutes, alright. Short castle, take, knight on d4, yeah. Looks rock solid, typical Giri style. And Nakamura spent already a lot of time, 20 minutes even more, 22 minutes before castling. What else can be played here? Maybe rook c1 first to avoid this bishop f3, knight d4, because there is somewhere knight on b5, but then there is queen b4 check, so a little bit strange to think 20 minutes, short castle, take, and g3, again, long sought here. Bishop c5, most logical. I don't know if g3 is the best idea. Not sure. Feels weird to play the move g3 immediately. Maybe rook c1 first. g3, bishop c5, and now we get this structure where white is capturing the bishop on b6. So bishop pair for white, but on the other hand, such a monster knight here on d4. So is it better for white? I don't think so. And also, somehow I dislike the move h3. I believe to keep the option of bishop h3 is so useful, so I don't know. It's difficult maybe to give an advice to white. Maybe b4 would be something normal, but there's always knight e6 coming next, so difficult, very difficult to achieve an advantage here with the white pieces. Nakamura is, wow, bishop f1. Another how much? 13 minutes of thinking before playing the move bishop f1. Not sure. I'm not convinced in the play of Nakamura. It looks weird. Is it worse for white? I don't think so. It's still equal, but how to be better in the current position, especially play moves like bishop f1, so it's going to be very difficult to open the position in any kind of way. Black might play simple moves like c5, for example, or to play a simple move like queen on d6 with the idea of eventually knight on c5 attacking the pawn on d3 straight. We have Giri with the move c5. Yes, this is the most logical. I think I would have done the same because it's just so easy move. c5, we control the square d4, we put the pressure on the pawn on d3. You might ask, why is it not better for black? Because it feels like black is white. I don't think it's better for black because bishop pair is so strong. So even some endgames might be draw. I don't think that black is capable of playing for a win, because once black is gonna start to play for a win, the position it will open, and then white bishop pair is gonna be very strong. So to play for a win with black, very difficult, but to keep the position solid should be easy. That's why I would say I see two options. Or Giri is going to push with the black pieces because he knows he has to win some games, and Nakamura seems to be in a bad shape. So Giri might think, this is my chance to push. On the other hand, we have usually Giri being very safe. So he tries to push with the white pieces, not with the black pieces. In case Giri does not like to over push with the black pieces, I believe it's going to be a draw, and quite quick draw. In case Giri is going to push with the black pieces, I think we're going to have a huge fight, because it's very difficult to play for a win the current position. It's easy to hold this with black, but to play for a win is a difficult task. Maybe some idea of rook c6, rook d6 is possible, but it's very difficult. So here we have the move queen on e2. I think it's a silent draw offer. I like to call it that way, because in case of knight on d4, white has to go back on d1 and Giri can go back to e6. This is what I mean with Nakamura feels he has no chance anymore in this game, so he offers like a silent draw to Giri. Like, do you want to draw or do you want to beat me? This is what Nakamura wants to check with his move queen on e2. Obviously, there are no threats to the black's position, no major ideas for white. White is just gonna wait here. Very difficult for black to improve the position. This is a problem. Maybe rook to c6 in case Giri wants to play for a win. Maybe b5 followed by b6. Also possible to push like a little bit. And we will see. The next move of black is going to decide. Giri is playing for a win or Giri is happy with a draw. Giri can make the draw by playing knight on d4 and knight on e6 back. Let me read for a second the chat. h3 preventing the move knight g4. Yes, this is correct, but knight g4 there is always the idea of bishop h3. That's why we have to look at that very, very tactically. What is the engine evaluation? Black looks better. Yes, as I said, I also believe black might be a little bit better, but we are checking without engine on the current channel, because with engine we are not using our brain, so it is not useful. Knight on d4 played by Giri, and queen d1 will be played by Nakamura, and let's see if Giri repeats. No, he takes on d4. Wow, this is crazy. Why to take on d4? I don't understand this move at all. To take on d4, it looks shocking. I don't understand this move by Nakamura to take on d4. Now we have this horrible bishop on f1 versus the knight. So if black is capable of getting the knight from f6 to e6, it's just gonna be like minus plus, or maybe even worse than that. Nakamura is eventually hoping to be very, very quick here with the move rook on c4, eventually planning to play b4, but it's a bad idea. This is a bad idea. It's gonna end up very, very badly for white, in my opinion. I'm completely shocked by the move bishop takes d4. This is not a move to play. I think Giri is very surprised as well. It makes no sense to take bishop takes d4. Wow. I don't know what to say. If Nakamura loses this game, and the way it goes, I think he will. It's just over for Nakamura in the candidates. It's completely over. With such a play like bishop takes d4, and of course having just a half point out of 3, well, Nakamura seems to be in horrible shape. This is maybe a little bit of punishment for him to playing this US Opens against 2300 opponents. You are getting so much self-esteem by beating players who are 400 points in ELO under you that you think you can play like this against Anish Giri or against other top players. It doesn't work. You're just getting crushed. So bishop takes d4. Absolutely shocking to me to play a move like bishop d4. I have no words to describe this horrible positional decision. Of course, I should not speak like this about Nakamura, who is one of the best chess players in the world, but I cannot explain it in any kind of... I don't know how else should I call a move like bishop takes d4. I think once we reach 1800, 2000, we know we should not take on d4. I don't know. Shocking. Shocking play by Nakamura. What do you think? What do you think in the chat? Do you agree with me that bishop takes d4 is a shocking positional decision, or would you do? Would you do same to take on d4? Let me read for a second the chat. Who do you think will win the candidates? I don't know, but my vote goes to Caruana. So I hope Fabiano is going to be the winner of the candidates, and I think in case Fabiano wins, he is going to beat Gukesh quite easily, in my opinion. So I think the winner of the candidates is as well the future world champion, in my opinion. So yes, let's continue. So let's go back to the game of Bluebaum against Yesipenko. So now the rook's been changed. Bluebaum continues playing for a draw. We have the move knight on c3. The idea is rook on d2, rook to c2 just to change. Bishop c4, rook on d1. Bluebaum is suffering a little bit because we have the better king. So black might get a little bit active, but it is not enough to win the game. So it's gonna be a draw. Bluebaum trying to make a draw with all he can. By the way, not a very beautiful play by Bluebaum, because to go into an endgame where you suffer a little bit just to clinch a draw, well, what to do? What to do? German players are usually very safe. It's ugly, but it's safe, so we will see most probably a draw here. Third draw for Bluebaum, third fast draw for Bluebaum. To force draws with white is in most cases a bad idea, as I mentioned earlier, so not a great strategy in my opinion by the German player. Now let's continue with the game. Praggnanandhaa, Sindarov. So we had this move queen c3, which I don't understand why to play the move queen on c3. Maybe the idea is to put the king on c2, but king on e2 also pretty safe in most of the cases. So e5 as we expected, and bishop c2. This is strange. What a strange play by Praggnanandhaa, having a piece up position. I believe still it should be much better for white, but this is weird. Queen on c3, bishop on c2, eventually we see king on c1 followed by rook to d1, but feels a little bit strange. e4, knight on d2, so white is going back, white remains with a piece up, but somehow black is back a little bit. Now the pawn is on e4 instead of being on e6, which is good. Plus, there might be something connected to the move f4 at some moment, and this bishop g4 check is an option. I don't know. It feels that Praggnanandhaa did something strange in almost a winning position. Now black is a little bit back. Not much, I believe still white should be doing better, but slowly Sindarov is coming back. And we have now Sindarov with 40 minutes on the clock. We have 21 minutes for Praggnanandhaa. There is no extra per move, so this is all the players got till they reach the move 40. After the move 40, they're getting extra 30 minutes. I see a question in the chat in the situation, where should Bluebaum pawns be? Let's go back a little bit to the Bluebaum game. I think it doesn't matter how you keep the pawns, because you just try to exchange all the pieces and you try to bring the king as fast as you can to the center. So we have to bring the king here. That's why I guess f3, king f2, and king to e3 next is making sense. Black is pushing a little bit, but usually it's not enough, so it's just a draw. Praggnanandhaa, Sindarov, the game is getting very sharp. I don't like this move queen on c3. I really don't understand, because at the current moment e5, the pawn on f5 is hanging. Yes, there is a problem with the pawn on e3, but it's not a major problem, so we have the option of king on e2. Maybe there is something like queen on h6, attacking the pawn on e3, but the pawn can be easily defended by knight f1, by queen on c1. Way to let black push the move e5. Very strange. Also, Praggnanandhaa sought here for 6 minutes. Maybe he has just missed the move e5, which is hard to believe, because not a very difficult move, e5. So how to miss it? He goes back. I don't know. I think Sindarov is sort of a little bit back. The next move of white is to play knight on e2, because the pawn cannot be taken. We have rook on g1, and then g7 is so weak. That's why knight on e2 is coming next. Maybe then knight on d4 or knight on f4. I believe white is still better, but to let the pawn e4, not sure. White is better, but I think Praggnanandhaa was doing even better than the current position, so some advantage has slipped away. Maybe it's still enough to win the game, but maybe not. Sindarov with still a lot of time on the clock, so Sindarov is a very tactical player. It means he's searching now for options to push like f4 in some good moment. Maybe first queen h6, attacking the pawn on e3, then something connected to the f4 play. Maybe also rook d8. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say. Rook on d8, perfectly placed. We will see the move king on c1 in my opinion, because otherwise it makes no sense. To keep the king on e2, possible, but so many checks here. Queen g4, f4. It is just too tricky. So I believe we will see the move king on c1. being played next, and maybe Sindarov is getting ready for the move f4. Very, very sharp game. It's gonna be crazy game instead of easy win for Praggnanandhaa. Sindarov is sort of back. Also, psychologically, I think it's not easy to play after you make a big mistake. And I think Praggnanandhaa with Queen c3 made a big mistake, and I think he feels that he made the mistake. That's why maybe Sindarov is back. Maybe no King c1, but Knight on e2 first. Because in case Black takes, we have this Rook on g1, g7 pawn in trouble. So, Knight on e2 was the idea, Knight f4, Knight on d5, or Knight on d4. Yes, it's a possible play by Praggnanandhaa. On the other hand, maybe there is something connected to moves like a5, followed by the bishop b4 idea to make use out of the d file. Maybe also something like queen on d6, similar idea, bishop b4 next. Maybe also something like queen on b6, attacking plus bishop b4. But at the current moment we have this rook to b1 as a saver, so not looking so easy, not looking so easy at all. We have king c1 been played. Yeah, this is the most natural to go away from the pin. And now is the question, is there a move f4? Very direct, trying to push. Probably is not working, but it has to be calculated. It has to be calculated. So very interesting what is going to happen next. Black has to push, but is it now the time to push? So let me read the chat. I was wondering if he is qualified to question Prag. I don't know. What do you... Strange question or comment. Do you think it's a mistake or preparation? This is not a preparation, so I think Sindarov made a mistake in his preparation to get into trouble, but maybe Sindarov is back from the trouble, so we will see. The next couple of moves are very important in the current position. White wants to go knight on b3, knight on d4, or knight on e2, knight f4, so white wants to stabilize. If white manages to stabilize, yes, white will be almost winning, but it's at the moment Sindarov whose turn it is. He has a couple of active options here. Queen h6, trying to attack the pawn. We have this ideas a5, bishop b4, f4 eventually. So not so simple, not so simple. Let's check Nakamura against Giri. What do we have here? Yes, he's going for this rook c4 b4. Of course, knight e8, knight on d6. What could be more logical than this? Take, take. Queen on b2, knight on d6. Rook goes back. It looks horrible. It looks just horrible for black, for white, in my opinion. Knight is going to dominate over the bishop. This is like extremely obvious. Now maybe Giri needs to think how to defend the pawn on e5. So the pawn is under attack. Rook on e8, simple way of defense. Black is getting ready for the move knight on b5, and finally the knight would get to d4, so Nakamura cannot allow this to happen. Most probably we'll see a move like rook to b1 just to stop knight on b5. Now simple move b5. Look at the pawn structure. You have a bishop on f1, and then you have the pawns on d3 and e4. This is horrible. This is just horrible. So positionally, white is really doing badly, and in case black manages to get the knight from d6 to d4, it is just over. That's why it's gonna be a huge fight. If Giri manages to get the knight to d4, that's it. So Nakamura has to try to avoid it by any means. Maybe try to attack the pawn on c5, but very difficult how to attack the pawn on c5. And black has easy ideas, so the easy idea is first to get e5 pawn under protection, then we bring the rooks, rook to b8, rook on c8, then we plan to play the move b4, eventually the move c4, also not looking bad. And we have another masterpiece idea, it is to bring the knight from d6 to d4. So many ideas for Anish Giri. I think Anish Giri can't believe his eyes what is happening here to Nakamura, because to be so risk-free better, usually you never have it on a very high level, that you're just much better without any obvious reasons. So sometimes it is some kind of huge preparation, sometimes it is like someone forgets something in the opening, but no, in the current game we have just Giri, who is playing solid chess, and Nakamura doing something extremely strange, especially the move bishop takes d4. I cannot explain this decision. Unexplainable. So, let's come back. We have the move rook to b1 on the board, and this is what we've been expecting. So, with black, we can be solid by playing a rook on c7, but personally, I believe b5 is looking pretty good. After b5, d4. Is it an option to play the move d4 for white? I don't think so, because we can take it. This rook endgame might be very bad for white. And in case of e5, I think there is just a simple solution, knight c4. So we take, and I think we can take on e5. There is knight on f3 coming next. So in case there is no d4, b5 is looking like a good option. Maybe Giri wants to be like ultra safe to play rook c6 or to play rook c7. Well, it's possible, of course. Nothing wrong with that, but why not to play the move b5 in case you can play the move b5? So I would probably play b5. Yeah, we have b5 on the board. Yeah, this makes perfect sense. Why not play b5 in case you can? Nakamura blitzes out the move rook on c1. Well, to blitz out some move, this is easy, but how to come back here into the game for Nakamura, I have no idea. I think white is just doing worse. White is doing quite significantly worse. It's not an easy worse. Gonna be a hard fight for Nakamura to equalize here. Maybe the plan of white is to be very fast with something like queen e2, queen on e3, attacks the pawn on c5, and then rook on c2, followed by rook c1 to attack with all he has, the pawn on c5. But it's still not an easy draw, so black can defend the pawn on c5 with simple like rook c7 and rook on c8. Queen can join the defense from the a7 square, attacking the pawn on a3. This is not an easy draw for white, and by no means, and always this huge positional pressure that black is gonna bring the knight from d6 to d4. In case the knight gets to d4, it is just game over. So I don't know why Nakamura is playing so strangely here in the candidates. Very unlucky game against Caruana. Not a good game against Yesipenko. Now quite a bad game at the moment against Giri. Nakamura is in a poor shape. And in case Giri is going to score today, Giri would be back for all the fans from Netherlands. And of course for Nakamura, half a point out of 3 is just the beginning of a nightmare, because the tournament is just so long. You have to play 14 games. You have 3-4 rest days. It feels, every day feels like a torture. It feels like everyone wants to beat you, and it's never-ending event where you have nothing to win anymore because you cannot qualify against Gukcash and you're just suffering day by day by day. It is a horrible feeling for a professional player, just so unpleasant. Let's go back. Bluebaum, Yesipenko, we said it's going to be a draw. Yes, it's going to be a draw. Now the knights been exchanged. We have the move g5. So Yesipenko is trying to put a little bit pressure because the pawns are on the light squares. But it's not a big pressure. This position is a draw. White can set up with the move g3, h4, king goes to f2. This is just a draw. There is not much left to fight in the current game. Yesipenko is trying to find a way to push, but it's too small to push here. So I think it's gonna be a draw. No changes in the current game. Then we have Praggnanandhaa against Sindarov. So let's see. We saw king on c1 as the last move. Queen on g5 makes sense. Rook on e1 defending the pawn on e3 also making sense. What is the next move for Sindarov? There is knight on b3 coming next, attacking the bishop. Then king on b2, putting king into safety, and then maybe c5. And yes, white is going to have a much better position because of the piece up. Sindarov has to find something. It's now or never. It feels like black should be able to get some kind of play. It doesn't feel like white is winning here. Is it possible to play maybe the move bishop on e6 followed by a rook c8 idea and maybe b5 idea to open here? Some pressure on the c file. Yes, maybe, but feels a bit too slow, to be honest. Doesn't feel like it's gonna be a great fight. But what else? What else to do here with the black pieces? Queen on h6. I see it in the chat. Possible to put queen h6, attacking the pawn on h2, but it also feels like you put your queen a little bit away. Maybe queen h6 feels a bit unnatural, but yeah, maybe possible. The problem is that knight on b3 is also looking like a decent move here for white. So where to go with the bishop? Maybe e7. I don't know. Queen h6 maybe, but feels a bit unnatural. We have queen e7 been played with the move bishop on b4 next. So trying to make a use out of the rook on e1. This feels pretty natural to play queen e7, but it feels as well a bit slow. So what should be the next move for white? How to defend from the move bishop on b4? Few ways of defense. First of all, we can go rook on d1. Feels natural, feels safe. Maybe some idea f4 somewhere possible. Needs to be calculated. This f4 could be very, very dangerous. In case white would be not careful at some moment, then f4 is a crusher. So white has to be very, very careful. Maybe it's better to put the rook actually on e2. So maybe more safe to put the rook on e2. Still, the move f4 has to be calculated. Doesn't look like it's gonna work because I can't even take, I believe. In case of bishop d4, we have this queen to a3 saver. So maybe something safe like a rook on e2 is making sense. By the way, what would you play? What would you play? Please write it in the chat. Would you play something safe like the move rook on e2, or would you play maybe something more active? Quite an interesting position, not a simple one. Let me read for a second the chat. I'm convinced Hikaru is retiring from rated games if he doesn't get world champion, but I can't speak for him. Well, I don't know if Hikaru is retiring or not retiring. He is still quite young, so I think it's a bit early to retire completely as well. He seems to be almost at his peak. His elo is over 2,800. To retire at this moment, maybe a little bit too early. So, rook a5. Wow, rook a5. What is happening? Rook e5, then bishop b4. Looks too dangerous, I think. Rook e2 is bad. Well, that's a tough comment. Rook e2 is bad. Hard to see why it is a bad move. Let's see what Praggnanandhaa is going to play. He has to play something very, very soon. The time is running 16 minutes for 17 moves, still move 40. So yeah. To have ideas is always good. I see a comment in the chat. There is no bad idea, so I always try to explain what happens if you try to become better. Of course, you make sometimes mistakes, but that's the way to improve. So I personally think there is only one bad idea, is when you have no ideas. So if you want to improve, you should try to think for yourself, and mistakes are very, very normal. Let's go with the next game. We have Nakamura Giri. Rook c1 been played, queen e6 by Anish Giri. Maybe he wants to get the move c4 then. I don't know. I don't know if c4 is a must, because it feels like after the move c4, d3 pawn is gonna be exchanged. The bishop on f1 finally gets into the game. I don't think that Giri should aim for the idea of playing the move c4. Maybe queen e6 is actually not because of the move c4, but because of the rook e7 and rook c7 next. I don't think that Giri wants to play the move c4. It would be quite unnatural. Queen on b3. Nakamura is going for trying to reach quite an unpleasant endgame, but maybe it's already the best he can do. Because the combo, knight and the queen, is so good, usually in attack. Nakamura is trying to survive in a worse endgame. Maybe it's already the best he can do, yeah. Quite a practical decision from Nakamura, but it's still gonna be quite a long suffer. And of course, Black doesn't need to take on b3. Black can just go back, queen e7, very, very safe. Queen on d5, it's a good queen and simultaneously a bad queen because it can be attacked by rook on d8 somewhere. So, personally, knowing Giri, I would say that we will see an endgame. Giri likes to play endgames, slightly better, no risk. This is what Giri actually does best, in my opinion. He is technically very, very good technique in most of the cases, and he likes to push with no risk. So, knowing that, well, I think queen on b3 might be played. Maybe rook on c6, white doubles, black doubles. Next, maybe something like f4. We play f6, holding the structure. Then king f7, then king gets to e7, and let's see what happens next. I think it could be potentially the next moves of the game. Looks pretty logical to me. And long term, Black has the idea. Knight from d6, get the knight to d4. So, I see a comment in the chat. Not possible not to think wrong moves if you're 1500, but it doesn't matter. Wrong and right is very, very relative. So, it doesn't matter. If I remember the times when just the first engine's been on the market and we all thought these engines are so strong, but actually back then a human could have won, could have beaten an engine easily, but we still thought the engines are so good. And now you have a mobile phone that would crush Magnus Carlsen 10-0 basically, and yeah. So, well, things are always changing, and that's alright. Let's go back to the game of Bluebaum versus Yesipenko. So we have this bishop endgame, still a draw as expected. We have Bluebaum with a g3 h4, so let's go back. This is quite important, but it's quite natural. So we put the white pawns on the dark squares, so the bishop cannot get it. Black is doing better because we have the better king on e5. f6, and white is just waiting. Next we will see moves as a5 probably, but there is no real way of winning the current position. Black can play a little bit. The idea of Black is to change the bishops in the right moment, but obviously white is not gonna change the bishops. So how to win here? I don't know. Only chance that Bluebaum is gonna miss something. Very, very simple, but usually Bluebaum is pretty safe. Maybe the idea is to get the king from e5 to c5, then to give like a check somewhere and try to enter with a black king, but I don't think it's gonna work. Too little material on the board, so this position is going to be a draw. We are move 39. One more move and Yesipenko is gonna get another 30 minutes on the clock, and I think here we have two options. Or it's gonna be a very, very fast draw, or Yesipenko is going to push for the next 60 moves, just moving around and trying to make some little trick to Bluebaum. He has to decide if he wants to be fresh for the next game, just make a quick draw, and that's alright. Or he wants to push against Bluebaum for the next 60 moves, spending a lot of energy, and probably still we will see a draw on the chessboard. I think Yesipenko will decide this during the next couple of moves. I see a comment in the chat, I would lose this endgame. Of course, it's possible to lose any kind of endgame, but we should not forget we are looking at the games of top chess players of the world. Yeah, so the top chess players of the world, they do not make many mistakes, and usually mistakes are in complex positions, not in simple positions, and this position is pretty simple. So to expect a huge error, no, draw. So this is what I was talking about. Yesipenko wants to be practical, he just agrees to a draw, he wants to save energy for the round number 4. Yeah, very practical decision, drawing the game. Bluebaum, Yesipenko, all in all, very boring game. Bluebaum tried to equalize with white and he managed to equalize, suffered a little bit, but not too much, so easy draw. Next, Praggnanandhaa against Sindarov. I think it is a game of the day, and yes, we have the move rook on e2. We expected to see the move rook on e2, except there is something very forced or tricky or something direct that black can do. Next, let's think. So f4, I don't think it works. Take bishop d4, queen on a3, attacking the queen on e7, and it feels that white should be doing better. What else? What else can be played by Sindarov? We have bishop e6, followed by rook c8, followed by b5 ideas. This is making sense. So this would be logical. Bishop e6, and then we get rook c8 against the white king on c1. It looks like a good idea here. Bishop e6 feels one of the main moves that could be played by black. Maybe to be like super greedy with queen h4, trying to win the pawn on h2 feels bad. So this doesn't feel like the right approach, even to in case black wins the pawn, which is very questionable because the pawn can be defended. Even if you win the pawn, to lose so much time, white is gonna play knight on b3, knight on d4. No, this is probably not the way to play. So what else do we have? We have bishop on b4 first, trying to attack the queen, white queen. Where to move the white queen? Probably b2 is making sense, and now black has to find something. Let's search together what could happen next. Is there a way to make something very unpleasant to the position of white? Difficult to see, because I still believe that bishop e6 is the best play here for black, but having the bishop on c8, it's not enough. We need some pieces into the game. We need some pieces in the game. Without the pieces, what can we do? Maybe there is something like a5, rook a6, followed by rook on d6. Yes, this is possible. By the way, we have the move bishop b4 been played, queen on b2, as we expected. Or not yet. No, it's been played, yeah, this is correct. Maybe a5, followed by rook a6, rook on d6. Sort of slow play, but we have to bring the pieces into the game, yeah. I see in the chat we have idea of playing f4 and bishop on b4. Yes, could be a good idea to play f4 followed by the move bishop g4. Just it's like it is or good idea or basically black is gonna resign. So you take such a huge commitment with a move f4 here. Commitment is absolutely huge because now e4 is going to fall, and if white survives here, white is just having a completely winning position. f4 maybe a good idea, yeah. To take, and here to win a tempo with the move bishop on g4, attacking the rook on e2, and we cannot take the pawn on e4 because we have bishop takes d2. Could it be a great idea? Maybe, but again, the commitment is just so huge. Maybe white is capable of taking now on e4, we take the rook, and white is taking back. What do we have here? We have still two pieces for the rook, so material-wise, white is doing better. On the other hand, king on c1, pretty bad. Maybe there is some fast play with rook c8, trying to grab the pawn on e4, so far from easy, yeah. This is far from easy. By the feeling, I believe white should be still doing better, but this position is not easy. So maybe, yeah, maybe we have the move f4. Sindarov is for sure considering the move f4 because it's natural, just the commitment is so high. This move is all in. If something doesn't work about after the move f4, black just resigns. So Sindarov is thinking, well, f4, no f4, maybe a5 first, rook a6 and rook to d6. Also looking pretty normal, I would say. And we have the third option of playing bishop e6 and rook to c8. 17 minutes for Sindarov on the clock, so he still has some time. He has some time. We will see here, of course, huge time trouble because 15 moves to go. And so little time for both players on the clock, so it's gonna be crazy. We have to wait for 10-15 more minutes, and then we see absolutely crazy time trouble, so it's gonna be extremely exciting. By the way, in case you like our content on VChess, please like, subscribe, you would help us with this little gesture very much. Thanks in advance. Let's go with a game of Nakamura versus Giri. We have the move c4. I don't understand the move c4. Why to play the move c4? Now white is sort of back a little bit because the bishop is so good on f1. With good, I mean good enough probably to secure a draw. Strange play by Giri. I don't know why to push the move c4. Maybe Giri has calculated very well, and he believes he is just in time to double here on the c file and to play something like c3. Or he thinks in case white is gonna take on c4, he takes with the b pawn and then e4 pawn is going to fall. Maybe, but looks strange. So this is the only thing that I can say from my point of view. c4 is something that usually you don't play with black, except you really calculate it till the very end. To play c4 feels unusual. Why not just to play an endgame? Slightly better for black, zero risk. Also, this move queen e6 feels a bit strange. Maybe he has missed the move queen on b3. Why not just to play a couple of easy moves like rook on c6 or rook on c7? Feels so pleasant for black. Zero counter chances with the white pieces. I don't know. c4, queen on b4, rook c7, a4. Played by Nakamura, and here we go. Yeah, this is the problem. It's getting very forced. Take. And the only way to play now for a win with the black pieces is to play the move c3. There is nothing else. Now it's like maybe forced draw, or you play the move c3. No other chance to play this position for a win, so I don't get why to play c4. Why Giri has played the move c4. Maybe his advantage is gone, or maybe the move c3 is working, so one of those. But the move c3, it looks a bit strange now because we have the move rook on b6. Feels quite unpleasant. So first of all, we have the move rook takes d6, which is a direct threat because queen takes e8 coming next. So black has to do something against this threat, and then we have queen on b4, attacking the pawn on c3, attacking the knight on d6. Doesn't look well. Giri with a move queen on e7. I think it's just a draw. So white is gonna take the pawn on c4. It's not a must to take the pawn on c4, but why not to take the pawn on c4? Black is gonna take on e4, but now this position is just a draw. Giri is missing his chances. I think he had a chance. He had a chance to be better. Let's go back here to the position after the move rook on c4. First, not sure in the move queen on d7. I think to put queen d6 feels also very good. Then this beautiful position here. Black is obviously better. Rook on e8. Maybe queen to e7 would have been more simple way to play, but doesn't change much. Queen e6, not the best in my opinion. Queen b3, smart play by Nakamura. And the c4, really strange. Why not just to take and to play rook on c6? Next move is rook on c8. I think it's a very pleasant endgame for black. You can push this endgame for a very, very long time. Yes, maybe white is gonna survive, but maybe not. So it's a one-way street. You can enjoy the game, zero risk. Instead, Giri was a move c4 and a4. Maybe he has missed the move a4. Could it be? Perhaps. I don't know. But now is just an equal position. Nakamura with 17 minutes. It's enough time for Nakamura to find very precise way to just fix the game into a draw. So it's gonna be a draw to very, very high degree. Quite pity for Giri, because in case he would have won today, he would be back into the tournament. Now, with a draw against Nakamura, 2 draws, 1 loss for both of the guys. Not great start. Let's go back to the game of the day. So we have Sindarov. He is still thinking. Very, very long shot. So he had 36 minutes not so long ago. And now every move he spends a lot of time. Now just 11 minutes for 16 moves for black till the move 40. No increment per move. This is going to be crazy time troubles now between Praggnanandhaa and Sindarov. I'm sure he's calculating, can I push the move f4? Or should I just play the move a5 followed by rook a6, rook to d6? Maybe bishop e6, more natural, many ways to go. Black is under pressure because black is a piece down, so black has to do something. If nothing happens in the next, let's say, 6-7 moves, I believe that white will have the better chances. And Praggnanandhaa, I feel that he is currently very, very happy because he has missed this idea of e5, e4 by black. And now Praggnanandhaa is having, instead of less time and not much better position, now Praggnanandhaa is back. He has more time. It doesn't look like Sindarov knows the next move, so Praggnanandhaa maybe now with a positive feeling towards the game. We will see. a5 been played, yeah. a5 been played. I'm sure he calculated for so long. Can I play the move f4? Can I? Yes, no. Finally decides to play the move a5 with the idea rook a6, rook on d6. Praggnanandhaa now with the white pieces. What can we do here with the white pieces? Please write your suggestions in the chat. What can we do here? Can we maybe bring the knight from g3 somehow into the game? Or should we go for knight b3, knight on d4 to have this blocker on d4? Seems like a good idea. So for example, knight on b3, but on the other hand we have bishop e6. I don't know. Knight on d4, take. We're gonna take on f5. Queen goes somewhere. Where to put the queen? Let's say we put it on f6. There is bishop on b3 now, followed by rook on c2. Yeah, this must be better for white, so I don't think that black should go for it. So maybe knight on b3. What could be the idea for black? How to defend after knight on b3, knight on d4 coming next? Still, f4 might be an idea, somewhere to push the move a4, but how does it help? We still get the knight on d4. Very, very interesting position, very, very sharp. There might be some tactics. Here is perfect case for some crazy tactic out of nowhere. Very, very possible. Praggnanandhaa is still thinking knight on b3 or no knight on b3. To bring the knight from g3, quite tough, because Where to go? Where to go with a knight from g3 to go? Knight on f1 doesn't feel like an active decision. To go to h5 possible, but knight is not doing so much on h5. The best case is knight f4, knight on d5, maybe. So maybe knight h5, but it feels strange to play the move knight on h5. I don't think that Praggnanandhaa is going knight h5 now. I believe knight on b3, except we're missing something. So what could it be? What could black play after the move knight on b3? Interesting. I don't see something immediate, so there might be something, but I don't see it. So I think knight b3 will be played next, because how to play with black pieces now? Knight on d4 coming next. Very direct threat. We block the rook on d8. We attack the pawn on f5. There must be something for black. I don't know. I don't see what black can play here. Praggnanandhaa is taking his time, but why he's so relaxed? We have 15 more moves to go without increment, just 11 minutes on the clock. This is crazy. Because it's just so little time, it's so easy to blunder in a position like this. So many different threats. And actually this is what happened in the game of Yesipenko against Sindarov. Sindarov was doing badly, but then it was this kind of crazy time trouble, and in the end Sindarov won. I see in the chat idea knight on b3, bishop e6. Yes, I understand there is bishop on e6, but the knight d4 is still possible, because in case we take, then f5 will be taken. This position remains crazy, but black is under pressure, because bishop on b3, change of the bishop's rook gets to c2, so quite safe. I don't know. Maybe, we will see. Praggnanandhaa is really taking his time. It feels like he has all the time in the world. It's like you're playing move number 5, but we're now move number 25. Just 10 minutes left, time to play something. All the Indian fans, I guess, are now so nervous, because so little time for Praggnanandhaa in such an important game. The pressure is incredible. Let's check Nakamura against Giri. If it is draw agreed. Yes, it is draw agreed. We have the move bishop on g2, so the last pawn will be changed. Yeah, this is just a draw. Both players will agree to a draw now. Very, very pity for Giri, in my opinion. I believe he has missed his chances. Position was looking better for Giri, clearly better, without any kind of counterplay from Nakamura. Now it is just a draw. In general, draw is a good result when you're playing black Nakamura, but the circumstances been just so good for Anish Giri. Feels pity from the side of Giri. With a win, he would be back to the tournament. Now -1. Not great start for Anish Giri, and the same goes, of course, for Nakamura, who I guess is quite happy now with a draw, but currently 3 games against Caruana, losing, against Yesipenko, suffering, making a draw, and now with white pieces against Anish Giri, suffering again, making a draw, so not a great start for Nakamura. Yes, I agree to the comment, Lord of Flies. Bad for both, yeah. This is bad for both. Not great, but I think Nakamura is actually quite happy, because the position been so unpleasant, yeah. The question is, do you check the games with an engine after they are done? No, I'm not checking the games with an engine, because it feels boring to me. Sometimes if I would like to check opening, of course, I check with an engine. Or if I go through the game like very, very fast, then sometimes with an engine. But now that I'm commenting the games, to look at the games with an engine, it's just boring. Okay, let's go back to our game of the day. So we have the move knight b3 played as we expected. And we have also rook a6. So no bishop e6, but rook on a6. Knight on d4, of course. Pawn on f5 is under attack. Well, if black finds nothing, I believe Praggnanandhaa, peace up. It will be looking very, very good for the Indian player. Rook f2 might be the next move. So Sindarov maybe with something like g6, but now here, long diagonal, trouble. Bishop b3 is possible with the idea of c5. Bishop a4, bishop b5 is also an option. I think Sindarov played somewhere a bit too slow. Maybe, as we had this suggestion in the chats, f4 would have been the correct play by Sindarov, but again, difficult to judge. He calculated very long the move f4, and finally he did not go for it, so he decided f4 not working. We cannot judge players like Sindarov because he is very, very good. Obviously, the calculation of us is worse than of Sindarov, so he didn't like it. For sure, there was something. Queen on g5. Still some pressure here. Maybe rook d4 in a good moment in case white is not paying attention, but we don't really expect Praggnanandhaa to blunder something. 13 moves to go, 7 minutes on the clock for Praggnanandhaa. King b1 would be very, very natural. Will we see the move king on b1? What else? What else can be played here for white? There might be some pawn sacrifice, something like c5 to free the bishop, but I don't think it's a good idea. Too early, too early. White should try to bring the rook into the game, and this we can do by king b1, king on a2, and then finally the rook is getting into the game. King b1 feels like the move to play. Will we see the move king on b1? Probably. I am just not understanding why Praggnanandhaa is so calm. If it would be me, I would be already panicking here that soon I have no time left. So let me play something safe. And let's see what happens next. But Praggnanandhaa is really taking his time. King b1 feels so natural. Maybe he's thinking to play bishop on b3 followed by king c2. Possible? Yes, this is possible. Let me read. I see a discussion in the chat if Europe is a country. Well, it's a sad discussion. What else do we have? Here, even if black plays slowly, doesn't seem like white can consolidate. Well, I think if black plays so slowly, white has a piece up, so there will be some way to consolidate. Maybe not an easy way to consolidate, but there will be a way to consolidate. King b1 been played, so this is what we've been expecting. King goes to a2, rook on f1, rook on d1, or rook to f2 at some point, so white is gonna be better. Black has to find something to put pressure. There is no time to waste for black, so Sindarov has to rush. What could be played? Something like rook b6, some pressure here. Maybe to play bishop c5 would make sense. Again, some pressure, preparing the f4. Black has to play something quick. Black has to push. No time to do an empty move here for the black pieces. Maybe somehow h5, h4, it looks weird, to be honest. Could be an idea, but looks a bit weird. So in case we see now the move h5, it feels like a desperation attempt. In case you have to play h5 to be back to the game, it means you're doing worse. So Sindarov, just 7 minutes. Well, huge trouble for both of the players, and we see Giri Nakamura with a draw. Yeah, this is what we've been expecting. I think Giri has missed a couple of opportunities, and it is now just a draw. Both players agree to a draw. Move 41. I think Nakamura is quite happy to survive, but Giri is pretty upset. So let's go back and let's focus our attention on Praggnanandhaa versus Sindarov. Huge time trouble. We have to go to move 46 minutes on the clock. Yes, h5, but it is desperation. As I said earlier, h5 is a possibility, but you don't play a move like h5 except you see nothing good. So h5, it's a sign that white is doing better. What could be played here for white? I still believe the move king to a2 is making sense. Maybe first to play bishop a4, bishop b5, making sense. What else? Maybe something like bishop on b3, but somehow feels strange to play the move bishop on b3, even though possible. King on a2. Is there something connected with the bishop e6? Not yet, because knight takes e6 is next, so it looks like a good idea now to play the move king on a2. Praggnanandhaa 5 minutes 30. Wow. Incredible. What a game. Both players in huge time trouble. Piece up for white, but black is still not completely lost, so the game is not over yet. 12 moves to go, yeah. Exactly. King on a2. What could be more human than this? But why Praggnanandhaa has spent so much time on king b1 and king a2? It feels so natural. He has so little time on the clock. Why to think here? I don't know. Maybe both of the players are very nervous. 5 minutes on the clock for both. h4, very logical. Knight probably to f1. The question is, what's next? I believe Sindarov has to push f4. h4 been played, knight f1 is the next move by white, and maybe f4. Not so bad now, since the knight is gonna be very, very poorly placed. Yes, knight f1 been played, and f4. Is it time to push the move f4? Let's see. What happens next? 5 minutes versus 5 minutes. We are currently move 30, so 10 moves. Bishop on d7. Too much respect. Sindarov shows huge respect. Maybe too much respect. I think it's time to push something. Knight is so poorly placed on f1. It's time to do something with the black pieces, even if it is a gamble, but you cannot play slow moves and hope to survive the game. White is bringing the piece into the game. Yeah, of course, because white is having an extra piece, so black has to do something. Slow play leads to nothing here for black. Black has to rush. Rook on c8, attacking the pawn on c4, but we have the move bishop b3. Now all the white pieces are in the game. I believe that white is doing better and better. Let's see what happens next. Can we make use out of the d file here? Or maybe knight on d2. Simple move, knight on d2. What could be more logical than that? We bring another piece into the game, yeah. Praggnanandhaa plays knight on d2. Feels just like the right decision. The idea of white, we have two ideas. Knight on b3, and we have another idea, knight on b1, knight on a3, or knight on c3. Pressure on the b file by Sindarov. 4 minutes each on the clock. Very little time. Very, very little time. Is it knight on b5? Maybe. Because we have then some tactical options. Let's see what Praggnanandhaa is going to play next. The position remains quite tricky, so white is doing better, but it's still very, very tricky. Very interesting moment. So, what happens next? 3 minutes 30 for Praggnanandhaa. So little time on the clock. Let's try to find a solution for white. c5, he sacrifices a pawn. Wow, what happens if bishop takes? There is bishop b3 check, but what happens after? Knight on c4, so Praggnanandhaa is pushing. c5. I think black has to take with the bishop, because I don't see what else can be played. In case of rook takes, we have bishop b3 followed by knight c4. I don't think it works. So the bishop takes looks like the best. Check, we go away, knight c4, and then there is a rook to b4. Let's see if this happens in the game. 4 minutes for Sindarov, but strange move. Why to give up on the pawn? Very surprising play by Praggnanandhaa, at least very surprising to me. Maybe it's a great play, but at the moment I don't understand why white is giving up on the pawn. Rook takes, not bishop takes, so bishop takes, check, knight on c4, rook b4. Maybe the idea is to play knight e5, but if we put the king to h7, is it so obvious? Knight on c4. First of all, we have some kind of a4 continuations as well. Rook on b4, bishop d4. It looks like such a complex position, but black takes with a rook on c5. And Praggnanandhaa continues thinking, I don't understand the move c5. Why to give up on the pawn? It feels like white just panicked out of nowhere. Very strange. Very, very strange. Praggnanandhaa played so safe, and now finally c5. How to explain the move c5? I mean, there should be something. Otherwise, it's just a horrible mistake by Praggnanandhaa. A miscalculation, but I cannot see what he has missed. To play c5, just give up on the pawn. Plus, now the black rooks are so active. Very strange. Very, very strange. 2 minutes on the clock. 2 minutes for 6 moves. Incredible time travel, because it feels so like so many options here. It's every move might be a blunder. And now it feels like 2 minutes versus 4 minutes, and 4 minutes feels like you have all the time in the world with 4 minutes. Actually, 2 minutes advantage is nothing, but currently it feels huge. Queen on b3 check. Would you have ever guessed to give a queen b3 check? Such a strange play by Praggnanandhaa. Now so many threats here to the white. King f8 or king h8? Yeah, king h8. Maybe queen f7 is the idea of Praggnanandhaa, but it feels weird to keep the king alone. Queen f7, I don't think it's a great decision here to play the move queen f7. Doesn't feel right. On the other hand, maybe queen f7 followed by bishop b3 idea. So we have this kind of queen g8 pushing, but it feels weird. He just blunders. Praggnanandhaa blunders a piece. Yes, he plays queen f7, and of course there is rook c2. With bishop e6, now white resigns. For the second time in a row, Sindarov is winning a very bad position. Unbelievable blunder by Praggnanandhaa. Piece up. Then he plays c5, and now he misses the move. Rook takes c2, that's it. Game is done. He is not resigning yet, but he's gonna resign in the next couple of moves. For example, I believe black can just simply take the knight, because the bishop takes. We have here the rook on b6. Game is over. What a blunder by white. Take, that's it, because knight takes. We have bishop e6 check, and black is winning the queen. Unbelievable blunder. So Praggnanandhaa showing poor nerves. Very poor nerves. For a long time we haven't seen top player blundering this kind of one mover. Rook takes d2, of course. Instead of being piece down, now black is a piece up. I think Praggnanandhaa is going to resign, or maybe he wants to make move 40 just because he's so upset. The game is over. Sindarov, second time in a row. Huge luck for the player from Uzbekistan. Against Yesipenko, he had a bad position and he won in this time troubles, and now once again bad position and he is winning against Praggnanandhaa. So black can simply take the pawn on e3. I believe there is nothing. Sindarov is just double checking because he's a piece up plus 3 pawns, so unreal advantage. Bishop c3, also just game over. but white to give the bishop on d7. So I think we can take on e3 and we can gladly play a position with 4 pawns up. On the other hand, maybe he wants to save the bishop on d7, but I don't know. I don't know what is better. I believe I would just take on e3 and that's it. Queen takes, I take the knight. 4 pawns up, yeah, he takes on e3. This is the most simple solution. Why not to play it? It feels so good. It feels so good to take on d4 next. That's it. We are now move 38 already. 2 more moves to go, so 1 more move to make for both of the players. And the next move of black, I think queen f6 and white resigns. Let's see. If we are correct, I would play queen f6, and I think that Praggnanandhaa is going to resign. Yes, queen f6 been played. Lucky guess. And that's it. White resigns. We have 30 minutes more on the clock for both of the players. There is absolutely no reason to continue playing this position with white pieces. Yes, he resigns. That's it. That's it. Sindarov wins the game, and let's come back to the decisive moments. I think there are 2 decisive moments. So one of them is this move queen on c3. I don't understand why Praggnanandhaa played the move queen on c3. It allows the move e5. And now the game is sort of unclear, even though I believe white is doing better. Then we have here a relatively complex position. White should be doing better. And we have this move c5. I don't understand. Why to give a pawn? He gives a pawn for absolutely nothing. And white is doing better here. It's not like white is fighting for a draw or you're panicking because you have like no other options. White is just a piece up, so a draw would be a fantastic result for black in the current position. c5 played by Praggnanandhaa. Little time on the clock, of course, but also white to go so low on time. And rook takes c5, he gives a check, king h8, and queen f7 is just a 1 move giveaway of the game. In the very beginning of the stream, we spoke about that usually top players do not blunder pieces very often, and yeah, here we see a 1 move blunder. Queen f7, rook takes. Knight cannot take the piece because there is bishop on e6, and that's it. Yeah, I also thought first queen f7, but it feels bad. I didn't see the move rook on c2 instantly, but of course somebody like Sindarov is not missing it. So unreal what happened in the current game. I could never imagine something like that. And that's it. Sindarov now with 2.5 out of 3, together with Caruana leading the candidates, so fantastic start. To win against Praggnanandhaa feels like a huge milestone. Praggnanandhaa also had a good start, beating Giri in the first round. Now Praggnanandhaa back to 50%. Sindarov and Caruana are dominating the tournament with 2.5 out of 3 points. Alright, in case you enjoyed my stream, please like, subscribe. This would help us very much. Otherwise, I wish you a great day. That's it from the current stream. I will be back tomorrow for the round number 4 of the candidates. We saw today very exciting round, except the game of Bluebaum, which ended up with a boring draw. Otherwise, Caruana, very nice, but such a quick win, just 19 moves and that's it. Praggnanandhaa, Sindarov, what a nerve breakdown for all the Indian fans. Can you imagine how someone feels when you see Praggnanandhaa just blundering a piece? It feels horrible in case you are a fan of Praggnanandhaa. And Nakamura, Giri, I think Giri missing some chances to push against Nakamura, so finally a draw. Okay, that's it. Wish you great day, great evening, great morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe to VChess, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks.